We are going to talk about raise awareness of the dark side of shipping. And there are lots of questions that need to be raised regarding trade union issues, like awareness of the dark side of shipping. What does SECO do and mean by that? Well, one of the participants who has joined all the Domsö shipping meets during the years, since 2009 actually, is Mikael Lindmark. And he will be talking about that. SECO is the trade of union for the employees working on board the vessels. Next year, SECO celebrate their 110th year's anniversary. So with a long history, they still work to change for the future. Maybe 110 more years. Please welcome Mikael Lindmark, delegate, and Kenny Reinhold, delegate and president, with an applaud.
Okay, thank you very much for this presentation. I almost wrote everything myself, but so they're going to hear it twice. So many thanks to DSM for giving us the opportunity to speak here today. And we, as she said, Michael Lindmark, he's the treasurer and national officer in SECO Seafarers branch, and I am Kenny Reinhold, I'm the president and national officer. And we are SECO, Seafarers branch, the union that organizes all ratings on Swedish flag vessels. We are and have always been internationally engaged during all 110 years. Because even in the beginning of the 70s, when Sweden was one of the largest shipping and shipbuilding industry and countries in the world, we needed to be a voice in the industry. And we have been working internationally with ITF, International Transport Workers Federation. It's a big federation all over the world with covering 140 countries. And we are working in IMO, the UN government in London for security and safety and environmental questions. And ILO, International Labour Organization. It's more the humans on board. And in EU, we have been working with the European Transport Workers Federation and in the Sectorial Social Dialogue Committee, which it's not so many who realize that if the ship owners and the seafarers are agreed on something in the social dialogue, we can go past the parliament and go direct up to commission with a suggestion, and commission could say, yes, we're going to decide after these partners. So that was just a short introduction, and I'm going to give the word to Michael, please.
Thank you, Kenny. Hörs jag?
Nej.
Nej. Jo, nu så. Nu hör man sig själv. Alltid lika obehagligt. Thank you very much. We will take these 20 minutes to talk about 3, for us, very important topics. And hopefully for you, the audience, will have the same. We will talk about what is becoming a very, very important topic these late days, and it's becoming a risk of a total disaster in the Baltic Sea. And we will talk about the problem that is becoming more and more common also, and it's about the crews not get the pay they're entitled to. Finally, we want to highlight the thing that everyone here loves, the ships, but we want to highlight when it's becoming a problem, when they're going to be recycled. We will talk about these 3. It's the dark ships and shadow fleets, it's double bookkeeping, and it's shipbreaking. shipping, like many other things, has been affected by the Russians' war against Ukraine. A phenomenon that has become more and more common here in our waters around the Baltic Sea is dark ships and shadow fleets. It's nothing new, but it has become more and more common now that when Russia must hide where they sell their oil, and no serious players within the shipping industry wants to be related to the Russian state. What characterizes a dark ship is many factors. Often it's older ships. If it's 15 years or older, it's one of the factors. The owner structure is very complicated, and all of us know that within the serious shipping industry, the owner structure can be complicated as well. But for a dark ship, it's extremely complicated. Many flag changes. A recent ship has been changing flag 3 times in 3 weeks. That's probably a dark ship. The AIS transponder is twisted off and on many times. If the flag's name, flag, or registration information doesn't match the information available from official sources, that's also an indication that it could be a dark ship. And here comes the big thing for us in the Baltic. Since most of the Russian oil is shipped out from the ports of Vostok and Primorsk, it's affects us here in Scandinavia because the oil must go through the Baltic Sea and through the belts or Öresund. It's important that we highlight this problem because nobody here wants to have 100,000 tons of crude oil in the Baltic that a large-scale accident could result in. Kenny.
Thanks, Michael. Yes, I'm going to talk a little bit about double bookkeeping, which is becoming more and more, more and more in the whole world, but especially in the Baltic Sea. So this double bookkeeping, as we call it, is a system with less serious ship owners and management companies using. The system in practice is very simple. There are 2 employment contracts, one that is on board, that looks real. It's completely in line with the CBA, the Collective Bargain Agreement, and the MLC, Maritime Labour Convention, and the ILM system of minimum wage. Then there is another employment contract. There is usually only one copy, and is rarely on board. It gives the employees between 40 and 60%, if they are lucky, in salary of the contract that is on board. We don't know how extensive the system is. What we do know is that it is increasing and that is in our absolute vicinity. There is a ship today in port today in Sweden using this system. We know that, but we can't do much against it. And how can the crew allow it to be like this? It's a very legitimate question. Unfortunately, the answer is probably so simple that they have no choice. Crews exposed to this are not highly trained and without extensive language skills. It's often people who are already vulnerable. They may be slightly older and comes from countries where corruption is a part of everyday life. Their certificate probably only allows services on smaller vessels and reduce their traffic areas. And worst of all, if they don't agree to the terms, they never have a job at sea again. And if they involve a foreign authority, they will be blacklisted and may even risk their lives. We have proofs on that one. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Kenny. And now to the last topic that we want to raise awareness of. It's shipbreaking. Shipbreaking is probably the most well-known global problem connected to shipping. Even though it's a problem that there have been least improvements in. The improvements are called international regulations, such as the Hong Kong Convention and the European Union Waste Shipment Regulations. These regulations are good, but they're not 100% effective. It's relatively easy to get around this. Even though the work in these shipbreaking yards in Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan is it's very dangerous. It requires physical strength. Child labor is very common. 13% of the workers are under 18. And since 2009, there have been 136 reported fatalities from Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan linked to shipbreaking. And then you should know that there are very few accidents reported. Ship owners from East Asia and Europe top the list of dumpers that sell ship for breaking on South Asian beaches. So regardless of what your intentions you had when you ordered the ship, we are a part of the problem. Moving shipbreaking off beaches into dry docks and quaysides in regions with capacity to store and treat oily and hazardous wastes are one essential step.
Okay, and we wanted to show you all this because when you are here on Donse, and if you have been on a Donse vessel, it's the contrary on what is going on in other side of the world. I think, at least in the Nordic, but also in Sweden, I think that the ships that they are building here, and they are not building here, but putting on a Swedish flag, I don't think you can see many of them that's nice around the world as we have here. So we wanted to show you that there is another part of a really bad business in the shipping. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Mikael and Kenny. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, and I will bring a microphone here. If you have any questions, I have some. Here at Donse Shipping Meet, we have the pioneers, we have the best shipping companies and suppliers. What can they do to avoid and prevent the three things that you bring up here today?
Yeah, and it's like Kenny said, this is the prime. These are the top of the shipping. So they can't do everything, but some of us can do some things, but all of us can raise awareness that this problem exists. We can't stick our head in the sand and I'm ordering the best ship in the world, then there is no problem. There is a problem, and we have to raise awareness, talk about it, and realize that we have to continue doing what we do, but also talk about what's happening on for example, the beaches in India and Bangladesh and Pakistan.
And you told us just before that we are all a part of it.
Yeah.
So what does SECO do to avoid this as a union?
It's not too easy to avoid, but I think this is very highly connected to which flag you have on the vessel and who is the owner.
Yeah.
And already when they're smuggling booze in US in the beginning of 1920s, that was the first time they reflagged a vessel from US flag to Panama. and it was just outside the American coast, delivering booze because they couldn't forbid it on the Panamanian flag. And until then it became more and more common. And 1948, the same year as IMO, the security part of the world in the international work, and UN, they established IMO. The same year, ITF, International Transport Workers, as I mentioned, are covering the whole world. They started to pin out some flags that was very bad at that time. And from then to today, we have over 45 different flags. Most of them are exotic islands from another side of the world. The ship owner could be in Lithuania, and having this flag, it can have a very closer flag too. And it's very hard to come on board. It's very hard to convince the seafarers on board to stick their neck out, because we have heard that when they are coming back to the country, when they have wanted to have their money back, they wanted to. There are people standing to collect the money, and they beat them up. And something happened when someone left a vessel in Uddevalla and went home, and he was beaten up, so he can't stand today. So saying this, we are trying internationally, but we need the authority to be more on spot. We need the ITF to just wherever those vessels are going, we know which they are, to be there every time and promise them that we can, if all stands up together, we could maybe win this fight, but I'm not sure.
What would you like the authority to do, to be on the spot?
They are doing a very good thing, but they are not so special on the social things on board, the living space and food and the agreement. They are, I understand it, they become an inspector to inspect the vessel, not the crew. There are some inspectors who is very good at that, but it's only one or two. Yeah. So we need more inspectors to be having the skills, and maybe do it together with ITF, which they call sometimes too. So they can go on board and really clarify what is going on. We have heard that people are collecting the money at the captain, and they get this $1,800 they should have, and then they go one staircase down, go to the chief officer cabin, and he takes the half of it directly, and then he go down to his cabin and crying probably. It's shitty world, and this is the opposite here.
This is the dark side.
Yeah.
So you tell us that it started already in the IMO in the middle of 1950s or something like that?
IMO established in 1948.
Yes. So the work started already then. Yeah. But if you go to the motto that Dunzo Shipping has now, that we change for the future. Let's talk about the nearest future and maybe the future a bit further on. What is the biggest challenge, do you think, that you have now for the future?
I think one of the biggest challenges is to get the right people on board the vessel to do a good job within the line of what we're talking here with the environmental speeches and stuff like that, because that's one of the things, to get the right persons on board, not getting people who are vulnerable and don't want to be on board. They're doing it only for the money. We have to have the people all over the world jobbing or working on board ships that really want to be there and want to be a part of the transformation.
And we have a big challenge to bring the new seafarers into your business. Yeah. Therefore, we have big speeches with the human resources right now. Yeah. So, yes?
I'm just saying, I think the Swedish ship owners are on the right way to not maybe solve it, but push it outside the EU, because they are building newer ships. They are having a really good personnel. They are treating the seafarers really good, and this is spreading. But we are too small. We are only 100 vessels, so we need more countries to take responsibility and keep out the bad and the dark side. So may the force be with you.